Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to change the electric element in your RV water heater. This is a little different than the videos you see mostly on our channel, but nowadays a lot of people are living in their RVs or traveling a lot in their RVs, so I thought it was worth adding these types of videos for some maintenance on your RV as well, repair and maintenance. So that's what I'm going to do. So in our project we have here, I've got a 6-gallon, this was a Suburban SW6DE model water heater. So basically this is a 6-gallon water heater, and it works off of, you could either heat the water with propane or with electric element, 120 volt actually. So when you first open the door on your water heater, this is basically what you're going to see, pretty similar in most models and makes of water heaters. I've got my anode rod. I take it out in the off season and just kind of store it up in here, but it normally goes down below here in this hole. And I'm not going to tighten it in because I don't have the wrench with me, but it would go in that hole, but I just had it in storage. So some of the first steps you want to do when you start this project is unhook your RV from shore power or 120 volt power. So unplug your RV basically. If you have water in your hot water tank, you're going to want to either drain it or at least relieve the pressure. So if you want to just relieve the pressure, my tank's empty, but if you want to relieve your pressure, you'll have this pressure relief valve here. And if you turn that little, or not turn it, but flip this little lever, it'll open up this valve, which releases any pressure that's in there. Now be careful, because if you did have hot water in there, it can be, you know, spraying out or whatever. So just be careful when you do that. So release the pressure. If you want to drain it, you could pull out your anode rod and let the entire tank drain, whatever you want to do. It's not necessary to drain it, but you just need to make sure it's all the heating, the propane and electric is turned off, and that you release pressure. Now the piece we're trying to get at is right back here, and it's behind this black cover in my case. A lot of them are covered in some kind of plastic cover. So I need to remove this cover, and to make it get easier to get at it, I want to get rid of this pipe here for the propane, for the flame. So to do that, I'm going to lower the camera because we're mostly dealing with things down lower here. So let's just get you down to a level that's maybe appropriate. Okay, so if you see right down here, there's going to be a nut on here. So we need to take that nut right off. There should just be one little nut on a stud. Sometimes they're slotted and you just need to loosen it and it'll slide out. In my case, it looks like I've got to take that nut right off. And over here on this side, you'll have a line. Sometimes it's copper, sometimes it's steel, and it comes off the end of the flame tube here, and it circles back up into the regulator. So in my case, I'm going to actually remove this line back here as well, and just take this flame tube right out of the way. Sometimes you can just pivot these out of the way, but since my bolt back here I need to lift this right up and out of the hole, I think it'll just be safer if I remove this end, and then I can just pull the whole thing out of the way and don't take a chance of damaging this line back here. So you want to have your propane off as well. I think I mentioned that. Okay, so once you get it loose, this little nut here will slide down this tube a little bit. I'm going to simply lift up till my stud at the other end comes out, give it a little wiggle, and it should all just drop down out of there. Now just be careful not to get any dirt or junk in here. So I'm going to set that to the side. So now we've got a better view of what we've got here. So this is the cover I was talking about. Here's the switch to turn my electric element on and off. You never want to have this switch on if there's if the tank is not completely full. So, and that may have been what happened that burned mine out, or it may have just gotten old. Sometimes you get a little bit of an airlock in there and you think you've filled the tank and you really haven't completely filled it or filled it at all, and that may have been what happened in my case. I'm not 100% sure. I actually quit working a couple of years ago and I keep forgetting to change it, but since I was doing some other work on the RV, I thought this was a good time to do it while I was thinking of it. So we've got that cover off that was just held in by these couple of screws, and you can see here, this is what we're going to be taking out. So this is the new one, and I just went down to actually my local Canadian Tire and picked this up, but you can get it at your RV dealers. They're fairly universal, actually. Some of these will even be used in residential water heaters, so the same type. The main thing is you need it to be threaded. Some of the residential ones are mounted a little different, but you need it to be threaded like this. So the next step I want to do is I want to take the power leads off of here. So they should just flip out of the way. Hopefully. Like so. So we can kind of get them out of the way. Then I picked this up because I didn't have a large enough socket. These are 1.5 inches that you need to get this out of there, and I didn't have a socket that large. So I went and picked this up. It's kind of made for these. It's specifically made that size. I've seen some where one end is for the electric element and the other end has the different size, which I think is 1/16 inch for the anode rod, but I already have a wrench for that, so I just needed this one. So I'm not just sure how tight this will be. So I'll get my little wrench in there. And this wrench just simply has a hole through it. You could use a screwdriver, or they sent this little handle. And we'll see if we can get it loosened off without too much trouble. And that is going to be tight. Holy Moses. I wish this wrench was actually a little longer. If it was outside here, I could get something more substantial on this, you know, through this hole. But this one isn't. I'll give it a couple more tries here. Holy Moses. What am I going to do? Such an awkward spot. Okay, so we got the wrench in there, and I'm going to hang on to this piece here with the pliers and try to squeeze it as well as I can, and I'm going to use a big long wrench in between the pliers as a lever. Let's see if I can do this without being completely in your way. It's going. There. That was tight. That's actually a good thing that happened. So in case yours is that tight, you can kind of see what you got to do to loosen it off. It's still pretty tight, so it might not be out of the woods yet. It's coming. Just I could turn it with just that little lever that the wrench comes with. Okay, there we go. Now we're coming out. So there's our old element right here. Here's our new one. Okay, so you can see they're a little different, but they're kind of universal things. So okay, so once you have that out, I guess, like I said, they're different lengths here. But if you look here at the label, this one's 120 volts, 1440 watts. That's the old one. This one's 120 volts, 1500 watts. Okay, so it's shorter, but it's actually more wattage, slightly more wattage, so it should be good. So now the new one we want to put back in. There's a little rubber. Make sure this rubber's on here and it's pushed right down to the nut. You don't need any thread tape or anything like that on there. So we just want to get it started really well with our fingers so that we know it's not cross-threaded. Okay, so that seems all right. get it tightened up here. This wrench. Like I said, I wish the wrench was just 2 inches longer, then you'd be dealing with everything out here and not in the cabinet. That's making it kind of a pain in the butt. Try to get on it. And we want to be sure we get it tight enough. I really don't want to tighten it the way I loosened it, because then I'm gonna maybe get it too tight again. So I'd rather do this and then do a leak test. And if I need to use my other method to tighten it enough to stop it from leaking, then I will, but otherwise I'll just use this. Okay, that's about as tight as I can get it. So okay, so at this point you'd want to do a leak test. So you'd want to hook your RV up to water, make sure this isn't leaking anywhere around back in here. If it is, then put your wrench back on and obviously get some more tightness out of it and keep checking till that drip stops. I'm gonna go with what I've got here right now. I will do a leak test after, but for the video I'm not going to worry about showing that. We're going to hook the wires back up. So we want to get the wires back on here all the way. It doesn't matter which one goes to which stud, should be fine. Okay, hopefully my wire will reach around here. Yep. So there we are there. So that's what you do to hook your wires back up. Just make sure they're nice and neat. So you'd already have your water test done at this point as far as leaks. Now you got your wires hooked back up. You'd want to put your protective cap back on here, and then make sure the water heater again is full of water, and then run a test with the switch. Now obviously it's going to take I don't know, I can't remember how long this one takes, maybe a couple hours or so to tell whether the water's actually warmed up or not. So I'm not going to do that for the video, but that's kind of your next step. Oh, and don't forget to put your gas tube, flame tube back in here. Okay, this over here just goes back up in the bottom of this piece and gets tightened up. No tape thread or thread tape or anything on there again. But you'll want to spray some soapy water on that, turn your propane on for a few minutes, and then go around there with some soapy water and make sure that's not leaking any propane either. So if it is, snug it up a little more. Okay, so I think that's gonna kind of end the video. So there you have it. That's how I would change the electric anode, or not the anode, the electric element in your RV water heater. It's one of the common things that can go. There's a couple other things that can be the problem as well, but usually that's it in my experience. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and please check out our channel, subscribe to the channel, click the thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.